Hello everyone, welcome along to Sportsbet TV. Paul Alster here with you once again. We're looking forward to racing taking place in Britain on Saturday the 30th of January. We've got our fingers crossed that the meetings are going to go ahead, especially at Cheltenham, which is in some doubt. But that of course is one of the issues we always have to deal with at this time of year. Now I've picked out two selections for you. Plus another one for our anti-post Cheltenham file, which of course is only 6.5 weeks away now. But before I come on to those, a quick word about last weekend's selections, which overall we did very nicely indeed. Now of course the feature was the success of Brewin'upastorm, and I know according to the comments and the messages that some of you left that you were on this one. We recommended him at 6-1 each way, and he was the subject of very strong support for that handicap hurdle at Taunton. And to be honest, it was never really in doubt. He went around like the class horse we thought he was, and he came through to take up the running out of the back straight, scooted clear, and the job was a good one. Returning at 3-1, he won very easily, and it was really a man against boys, and I hope you were on. He is a horse who I think could continue to pay his way. Now he's back over hurdles, he clearly relishes it rather more than the fences just at the moment. Now of our other selections, Acting Last ran a shocker over at Ascot, never went a yard, and our hopes that the wind operation had done the trick was certainly misplaced. Harry Fry's gelding just was never going and was pulled up at halfway, so clearly there's an issue with that horse, unfortunately. And our other selection, well, here was an unusual one, because the meeting was abandoned at Thurles on Sunday because of desperate ground. And Strange Notions were the selections, but she didn't run. But the Irish track restays the meeting on Wednesday. And according to Robbie Power, who's one of the senior jockeys in the Irish Jumps weighing room, he said it was the worst ground he'd ever ridden on. So it must have been just like an absolute bog. Strange Notions ran in the race that was rescheduled. To be fair, she didn't run badly because it was hop deep, the ground. She eventually finished 5th. We were on each way, finished 5th. I think we have to count it as having been a runner because it was a carbon copy of the race that would have been run on Sunday. So you may have missed it, but Strange Notions did run. I'm sure she would have run better had the ground not have been so completely borderline unraceable. Well, that could be the case at Cheltenham on Saturday. We're recording this message Friday lunchtime as usual for technical reasons, and they're planning to inspect the track at Cheltenham where it's still raining, it's already heavy ground, it's trials day. I hope on one hand it does go ahead because there are so many great horses down to run, but on the other hand a hard race in that bottomless ground could effectively take the edge off some of these horses, even with a 6-week break to the festival itself. So it's going to be interesting, but assuming it goes ahead, I'm interested in the 150 race, which is the grade 3 at Cheltenham, the 2.5 mile handicap chase. 11 runners, it will be attritional, heavy ground. They're betting 9-2 the field, the likes of Caribbean Boy. Now he'll like the ground. Midnight Shadow, who did us a favour running into a place at decent odds earlier in the season. Mr. Whittaker, I very nearly tipped him in this actually. I think he could run well back at the 2.5 miles. But last year, you may recall that this race was won by a horse called Cepage, who carried 11 stone 12 in the mud to win. Well, he was trained by Venetia Williams, and there was the mount of Charlie Deutsch, and the same combination team up with a real old favourite of ours, ASO, who also has 11 stone 12 in his top weight. Now, ASO has been a great servant to the Williams team. And as I've mentioned with a number of old-timers we've tipped up in recent months and done very well with, I don't believe that the real quality trainers persevere with older horses if they don't think they're up to winning still a decent contest. And I think that's the case with ASO. Remember him finishing second to the great Frodon in that superb Ryanair chase of a couple of seasons ago when he was rated up at 168. Well, he's not quite the horse of old. He's down now to 155. But is still set to carry top weight on Saturday. Now, he's had a couple of runs so far this season. The first was in the Paddy Power Gold Cup, where he was travelling okay at the 4th last when he was very badly hampered and was knocked all the way back to just about last place and completely out of it. But if you get a chance to look at the replay of that race that was won by the frontrunner Cool Cody, keep your eye on the back of the field, because you'll see old ASO staying on really well in the closing stages and coming through horses eventually to finish 7th, I think it was. Now on the back of that, they decided to try him over the Grand National fences in the Beecher Chase at Aintree a few weeks ago, and he was in touch about 7 or 8 lengths off the pace towards the rear of the bunch when he just hit the top of the 9th fence. I think it was the 2nd or the 3rd after the Melling Road on the way to Beechers, and he came down, but fortunately he was up very quickly. He didn't appear to have suffered any ill effects, and they're running him back at Cheltenham, a track he goes particularly well at. So I think that despite the 11 stone 12, and despite not being quite the force of old, I think he could still be good enough, because on this card last year he ran in the Grade 2 Cotswold Chase and was still talked of as a potential Gold Cup contender. So this is a drop-in class, and I'm with ASO, who goes well on soft and heavy ground. And looking at the odds on offer, well, it's interesting because the bookmakers are divided here, with the likes of Sky Bet and Paddy Power offering 9 to 1. But there's 14 to 1 each way still available with Bet Victor, Betfred and Boyle Sports at the time of this recording. And I think that's worth taking, because I can see ASO running as good a race in this race for his stable as Cepage did when he won this race under the same weight 12 months ago. So it's ASO for Phoenicia Williams and Charlie Deutsch in the 150 race at Cheltenham on Saturday. Now, there's a bit of a puzzle here because of the possibility Cheltenham might be abandoned, because our old favourite, who's done us that huge favourite, York Hill, believe it or not, he's down to run in the Grade 2 Cotswold Chase at Cheltenham, which apparently is his first preference for Sandy Thompson's horse. He's also down to go in the Sky Bet Chase, a listed chase, which I think is more his bag, at Doncaster. So I don't know where he's going to go. I can't tip him because he hasn't got the tongue tie on. And I thought that was what made such a difference to him and saw him win the rehearsal chase. But I will be having a little bit on wherever he runs, just for sentiment's sake, because when a horse has won for you at 66 to 1, he doesn't owe you anything. So that is York Hill. May go in at Cheltenham, but he may also go at Doncaster. I'm not making him an official selection, but I just wanted to point out he is set to run on Saturday. Well, Doncaster is expected to go ahead, and their 240 race is a very interesting contest. It's the Grade 2 Albert Bartlett River Don Novices Hurdle. Now it's over 3 miles, and they're saying it's going to be soft ground at least at Doncaster, maybe even heavy in places. And I can tell you, having half grown up on the track at Town Moor, that when it's soft at Doncaster, it really is testing, because usually it's a track that dries very, very quickly. So there must have been a huge amount of rain there. Now, they're betting 5 to 1 the field, and there are lots of unexposed young horses with the potential to improve, and many of them are stepping up in trips, so a lot could happen here. We've got Nicky Henderson's Emir Sacra, Flash Calonge, a nice horse for Paul Nichols, and the beautifully named Bob Hope or No Hope for Inform Kim Bailey. And there's also an interesting line here, because you may remember us tipping a horse, an Irish horse of John McConnell's called Make Good, when he won at 12 to 1 at Cheltenham a few weeks ago. Well, in that race, Pat's Fancy was second, Oscar Honeybee was third, and Ashtown Lad was fifth. And those three are all running in this race as well. So that will give us a line as to just how good that form with Make Good is. But I'm taking a chance here on a horse called FERN Hill. He's trained by Ben Case and is the mount of Keelan Woods. Only had the 4 runs in his life. The first was last season in a bumper at Kempton, when he finished a perfectly respectable 7th. He was then off for the summer, of course, came back in October, finishing 3rd on debut in a 2-mile novice hurdle at Uttoxeter, so a perfectly satisfactory effort. Then he went up to the racecourse in my backyard at Wetherby, and he won a novice hurdle there over 2 miles 3.5 furlongs, showing a really good attitude, staying on well. And then in December last month, he stepped up again to very nearly 2 3/4 miles, and it was a race on bad ground and it looked like he was beaten because he fluffed his lines at the last, and it was Witness Protection that went on and took his measure apparently on the run-in, only for FERN to show this tremendous attitude once again, and he fought back and he got up again in the dying strides. So here we have a horse who clearly is in love with the game, and that for a start is not something you can say about every horse. He loves a fight, he's getting better as he stays further, as he goes further, and I think he'll stay the 3 miles, and I think he's worth a bet each way. Witness Protection, by the way, the horse that he just edged out at Wetherby, is going to run at Cheltenham, all being well, Saturday in the 4:10, so if FERN goes well, it could be interesting, even though that one is dropping back in trips, surprisingly. So, back to FERN, who stays well, is improving, and like so many in the race is unexposed. I see that he's 12 to 1 each way with a number of firms, but there are 2 firms who are betting 4 places, and they are Betway and Boyle Sports. So remembering of course that whenever you take a bet, you should bet with a firm that's going to give you the SP. If that proves to be bigger than the price you take, that can make such a big difference. So 12 to 1 each way, FERN for Ben Case and Keelan Woods in the 240 race at Doncaster. Now, I'm not giving you any more selections because, frankly, I don't fancy any more horses on Saturday. The ground is that difficult, and I know that 1 or 2 very well-known tipsters have decided to just draw stumps for the time being and not make any recommendations. I think I respect their decision, but I think there's always an edge to be had if you can find it. But I know a lot of people are focusing already on the Cheltenham Festival. I'm hoping that by the Cheltenham Festival I'll have had a haircut, because with the lockdown, the old Barnet's getting more and more Marge Simpson-like. It's a bit like the old Hair Bear Bunch. So hopefully by the Cheltenham Festival I'll be back to my normal self, and we'll have a good book of anti-post bets. And that brings me on to my third recommendation on this bulletin, and that is for the Cheltenham Festival, and it is for the Champion Chase. The Champion Chase on the Wednesday of the Cheltenham Festival, and always one of my favourite races because I was there that wonderful year when Deep Sensation won. That it was just one of the great races, 3 coming to the last inner line, and Deep Sensation just forging ahead in the dying strides. That was quite a long time ago now, but there have been so many great races, and of course in recent years the likes of Sprinter Sacra and Altior, and Politologue, of course, who won the race last season. Now, you may well have seen the Clarence House Chase last week, in which Politologue ran a perfectly good race, but was beaten. And the horse that beat him was First Flow, and he has been just a remarkable horse for Kim Bailey. Kim's first Grade 1 winner since the days of Master Oates and Alderbrook, which is hard to believe. But he remains a superb trainer, and he loves this horse. And First Flow, I think, is worth considering here, because everybody's saying, quite rightly, he has to have it bog-like in order to win his races. Well, he loves heavy ground and he loves soft ground. We haven't really seen him tackle anything else. And I think that if you're going to bet him anti-post, your bet is as much on the weather as on the horse, because if it does come up soft, it will slow down a lot of others, and he will really come into his element. And given the fact that there's so much rain about now, and there could very easily be plenty more between now and Cheltenham, there's a fair chance it's going to be soft ground at least. Now, the horse that everybody's focusing on is Chacun Pour Soi, who's been so impressive in Ireland. He's a fine horse, but 11 to 10 for a Grade 1 race. I wouldn't want to take it. Anything could happen. We could have something happen to the Irish runners, which I hope it doesn't, as regards COVID. He could unfortunately meet with a setback. You just don't know, and you should never be frightened, as they say, of one horse, because he could hit the top of the first and unseat rider, and then where would you be? So I'm not frightened of the one horse. I think Politologue was a solid winner of the Champion Chase, but no better. Altior, I'm not sure he is the force of old, and so First Flow could very easily come into this, if it's soft ground, as a proper single figure bet, 6 or 7 to 1. I think the other horse that's interesting is Nube Negra, who won so well at Kempton, and he's progressive and he will handle probably quicker ground okay. But it's not to say that First Flow won't be very, very effective on something like Good to Soft. So I think that at 14 to 1 each way, I think he's very good value, First Flow, because Kim Bailey has said he is going to go there. There's every chance there's going to be give underfoot, and if there's a lot of give, then it will enhance his chances no end whatsoever. He's won his last 6, he's a classy horse, and I think that having a bit of 14 to 1 is going to look good on the day, and I can see him running into a place at least. So that's First Flow, my recommendation for the champion chase. He did it so well at Ascot last week, and he seems to be getting better and better. So that's it for this week's selections. As always, I wish you the best of luck. Remember to press the subscribe button if you haven't already done so just below this screen, and press the bell icon so you can follow all our bulletins. Remember to share this as well with your pals, and let's hope that we can get a good run for our money. Let's hope that Cheltenham goes ahead on Saturday, and as ever, I look forward to you joining me again in our quest for big prize winners this time next week. From me, Paul Alster at Sportsbet TV, bye bye for now.